Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America, and you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
What you're hearing on that other microphone is one of our favorite folks here in town. $1 billion tourism industry. I mean, this represents thousands of workers in Erie, and it's tourism, and John Oliver from VisitErie. I mean, the enormity of the economic impact cannot be understated.
Absolutely. I mean, the tourism hospitality industry has certainly become one of the stronger legs of our economy in Erie. And you're right, we're looking at over 15,000 people employed in the summer. And when you're into the winter, you're somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 to 12,000 people working. So, I mean, there's a lot of people working full-time. If you're working in the winter, you're working year-round. So that's had a big impact for sure. You know, some of the statistics we're getting in the summer, 20% of all retail sales in this county were by visitors who were from more than 60 miles away. Now you get into the winter, and it'll drop down to the last one I saw was, I think it was 11 or 13% of retail sales, and I think that's rather telling when you start to look at. And the thing is that those visitors are coming in, they're spending their money, they're buying things, and they're leaving. They don't ask for schools. They don't tax any of our other systems, our social service programs, all of those things. A visitor really comes in and says, here's my money. I just want to have a smile on my face while I'm here, and thank you very much.
I think I've told you this story before, but I think one of the best examples of that was we were doing a coverage of a big it was a big water festival that was going on at the Bay. And we were broadcasting live from the front of the Sheridan. And this family from Cleveland comes up and starts chatting with us, right, at our table. And they're like, we love coming to Erie. Okay, so they're on their own water. But we love coming to Erie. We don't tell anybody about it because we want to keep this place to ourselves. And I think it was just a random weekend in the summer that they came to Erie. They were going to probably go to the beach. They were probably going to Waldameer. And then we had this big festival with remember the water jet deal and all that, and the speedboats. And
our sports commission put that on.
Right, right. And this was, I don't know if that was before COVID or it must have been.
It was
maybe
before COVID.
And it was just this fabulous event. And they were like super excited. But you could tell, let's just face it, they were pretty well heeled. Like this was something that an upper middle class family with a couple kids, and we had all the assets for them to just really have a great weekend. 2 nights at the hotel, time at the Mirror, time shopping, time eating, and they would probably drop a few $1,000s before they were done with the thing. And again, and then their taxes are going, and their all the services to keep them alive are happening in Cleveland.
Yeah, exactly. And we hear often from families that'll come up, and they're going to a Seawolves game or an Otters game, because they can take their entire family to a game for what it costs one of them.
Is that right?
To go to a baseball game in Cleveland or in Pittsburgh, and so they're coming up and enjoying and having the whole family here.
That's well, when you think about that, yeah, and it's good baseball. You can maybe see a rising star. I'm thinking of the big pitcher for the Pirates played in our league first for Altoona.
You look at the Erie Otters, Connor McDavid.
Yes, exactly.
There is no better player in the National Hockey League right now than Connor McDavid, and we had him for 3 years here in Erie.
You really talk about the sports part of it, because I feel like that really comes to play, especially in the wintertime, where we have splash and we have sports, and then we have a few other things, but sports is really huge for tourism, right?
Absolutely. It's kind of a year-round thing, but particularly in the winter, we've seen the beauty of it is we've seen events that have come to Erie and continue to come every year. There's championship cheer. They've been here for a number of years, and the same thing with the gymnastics, the dog show. So a lot of those events are coming here, and they're finding a lot of success and continuing to come here. We're seeing amateur, kids hockey tournaments, and they're growing. We're seeing tournaments that may have had a few years ago 20 teams, now have 60 teams, and they're coming from out of town. And so, that's a big help in what was traditionally a downtime.
Do you think that our location helps with that, John? I mean, as far as, we do have 3 big markets around us, and then if you go a little bit further, what are there, half a dozen, if not 10, like solid metropolitan areas around our neck of the woods?
Yeah, I do think that, having a central location, we're basically equidistant on Buffalo, Cleveland, Pittsburgh.
But if you're coming from Rochester, if you're coming from Toledo, it's just not that much further, is it?
No, it isn't. I mean, Rochester's a 3.5-hour drive.
Yeah.
If that, it may be 3 hours. So, yeah, I mean, our location certainly helps. I think the quality of the facilities we have, and then also the quality of the service that they're getting from those facilities.
It really does go to the point of having strong management, strong leadership that we have with Erie Events, and of course the partners that are in the private hospitality business, but also having the workers, having the people that just exude Erie hospitality, right? I mean,
right. Well, the other thing that we're finding is that for conventions, meetings, or sporting events, they're the game in town. You go to Pittsburgh, you could be for a meeting, and you could be one of 10 that are being held, and 5 of them are all in the convention center.
Yeah.
Here, you really own the community at the time you're here. I mean, you're what's happening, and a lot they like that because then they're recognized for that. We have a media that steps up. You're a great example. You're there, and they love having media talk to them and recognize that their group or their event is something special. And they don't get that oftentimes when they go to much larger communities.
I've been amazed too, and again, this happens more spring, summer, but just some of the groups, let's say, that are maybe policymakers, or Ryan Pizarro bringing folks here that are part of his committee or so on, and they just go gaga over Erie.
Our biggest, the biggest challenge we have is just to get them here once. Because once we get them here, they're hooked. They're sold on Erie, and and then they suddenly realize, it's not as far away as we thought it was.
From Philadelphia, right?
Philadelphia or Harrisburg,
or,
anywhere that suddenly it's like, that's not so bad.
Yeah. Wow. That was part of the thinking behind really going all in on the Eclipse, knowing that people travel for the Eclipse, but the idea that the Eclipse could be that entry point for future vacation plans, right?
Well, absolutely. And even if people did not come to Erie, the promotions that we were able to do and the fact that, our location for the eclipse, we got a lot of publicity and mentions and talk, from markets that we hadn't even thought of. I mean, when you start to see the Washington, D.C. market, the Philadelphia, the Harrisburg, I mean, they sent media here to Erie to broadcast the eclipse.
All the Pittsburgh channels had their satellite trucks, at Perry Square.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's, that certainly was a big help.
Sure. Ended up having 100,000 visitors, according to the count, right?
Yeah, what we were able to get was about 130,000 visitors that came in, spent $3 million in the community. So it was successful without a doubt. And again, as we all know, we were able to see the eclipse.
Yes. Unfortunately, your hometown up in Niagara Falls had a washout, didn't they?
I was reading an article in the Buffalo paper, their top 10 events of the year, and one was the eclipse, and they said, well, while we couldn't really see, we could see the darkness. We couldn't view, so they recognized that we were, and of course, the county executive in Erie County got in his car and drove towards us to Cleveland.
Did he really?
Yeah, that didn't go over well.
Oh, I would imagine. Oh my goodness. Yeah. By the way, just for your edification, so we covered the eclipse, and again, working with your staff, working with Emily Biddle and Christine and all the folks from VisitErie being such a huge help, but we covered that. For the months prior, and then 6 hours straight on Eclipse Day, to the point that people were playing our coverage like at other events that were going on around town, other watch parties and things, right? We ended up getting the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters Award. We just found out yesterday for our coverage of that.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, very excited about that.
But. And, the eclipse also allowed VisitErie to gain a whole lot more recognition locally.
Mm-hmm.
Our efforts and our mission is to bring people from outside Erie to Erie. And in order to do that, we spend our dollars and money and time advertising, promoting outside of Erie.
Sure.
And so, the fact that we worked and took the leadership on the eclipse allowed the community and leaders in the community to say, hey, VisitErie really is an organization that does have an impact.
John Oliver, the CEO of VisitErie, they still call it the Convention and Tourism Bureau. And that's the category of organizations, right?
Yeah, we refer to ourselves as a destination marketing organization.
Destination marketing organization. Yes. Is there an association of destination marketing organizations?
There is.
Yeah. So what convention do you go to when you go to conventions?
I go to a Destination International.
Okay.
Which is composed of tourism promotion agencies, people that do what I do. We have our annual convention.
All right. I'll save the question because I want to talk about Restaurant Week, but we got to talk about AI and how that's going to impact tourism in a second here. But how did Restaurant Week go? That was 10 days of good food,
It went very well, extremely successful. We're still in the process of gathering information, but I can tell you that we had 63 restaurants that participated. Last year, we had 48.
Okay, wow.
And the first year, 5 years ago, we had 19.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really grown in terms of participation. But last year, we offered the same contest that we did this year.
Yep.
You upload your receipt, and you're eligible to win one of 5 $100 gift cards. Last year, we had 700 people that did that. This year, 1,200.
Oh, my goodness.
And recognizing, because I'm one of the people, I don't do that.
Right.
I'm not taking the picture and uploading. And I'm sure there are a lot that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're finding, and we tallied up the receipts, and it was, I think, $82,000 worth of expenditure But again, we're reaching out to all the restaurants. We've heard back from a number of them that said this was fabulous. We saw a big boost in business. And of course, when we started this, we asked the restaurants, we'd like to do this. When should we? And they all said, hey, the end of January, mid to end of January is really a slow time for us. And so we started that. For them to participate, they need to just give us a $25 gift card.
Okay.
And provide a special. Now, people don't have to order the special. They come in, but, I mean, we use that to promote the fact. And, of course, we had some big sponsorship. Curtsy Food stepped up big time for us. That really helped and allowed us to put together the table tents and stuff. That
I was going to say that the table tents were pretty visible around town.
Right. Well, when you have 64 restaurants, pretty much all of our restaurants.
And that made it easy because you just did the QR code and you can get to the link.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it's something that we're going to continue to do. And, it certainly is an opportunity for our local residents, too, to get out and try and visit a restaurant that maybe they hadn't or would like to, but here's an incentive to go.
Is part of your mission to do that frontline educational piece? We've talked about it over the years of being able to do cross promotion, so that you can just get more dollars spent.
Right. Well, we put together a whole packet of information that we drop off to the front desk of all of the hotels.
Okay.
So that when a front desk clerk's asked, hey, where can we go to eat? Or, hey, what is there going on tonight? They have some information. And mainly letting them know that, if they go to VisitErie.com, we have a list of events and everything else that's going on. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important part is,
Well, and because Restaurant Week started for over MLK weekend, and you had all those people in from out of town, too, so they could have participated a bit, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was the whole point was let's do it at a time where we can have the biggest impact. And again, you're right. I mean, hey, we do a lot of work. We advertise. We spend a lot of money telling people what a great place Erie is to come and visit. But in the end, when they do come and visit, we're not, we don't talk to them. We don't see them. We're dependent upon those that are working as servers, wait staff at our restaurants, we're front desk clerks at the hotels. They're really our frontline ambassador. They're the ones that can make or break someone's vacation and experience here. And frankly, they do a very good job.
It's amazing how visitors really depend on the locals to give them some guidance. So Shane's got a story. Shane, pull up your mic there, because when I don't know if it was the Italians or the Irish journalists that did stories on our show here for the election, and they wanted to know where to go for dinner,
Yeah, where to go for dinner, who was playing high school football tonight, where they could catch, live music or whatever else was going on. They really wanted to, take part in what was happening here in Erie.
That was the Irish folks, right?
Yeah, that was the Irish folks. So
Yeah.
I'm still in touch with the Irish folks.
But I mean, they literally where can we go to get this kind of a meal or something like that?
Well,
You almost have to have a little bit of an education as a local, right? I mean,
and we've heard this from visitors who have gone to, I use the example, I talked to one visitor a couple years ago, was at 8 Great Tuesdays.
Okay.
And was, sitting there in the lawn and happened to be sitting next to local residents that were there and got into a conversation. And next thing you know, the residents saying, hey, have you thought about trying this little place? I really love that. Or you got to do this, you got to do that. And the residents said, wow, we don't get that on other vacations. You go someplace else, all we're seeing is other visitors.
Right.
And so with the festivals that we have and our ability to have visitors interact and really become part, and that's what a visitor now, the trend is in terms of traveling. They want to experience where they're at. They're not happy just to, group tours used to sit on a bus and somebody just would tell them a story about a place. They actually want to experience it. And so by being out and having an opportunity and with our residents that, it's funny. We can talk among ourselves, and we do.
Sure,
about
yeah.
All of the negatives that are there.
Or, I just had a really good meal at X, you
Right.
know. I mean,
But surprisingly, our visitors or our residents, when they're talking to a visitor, it's rare that they give them any negativity. It tends to be all positive, and that speaks highly.
It's interesting too how the locals, when we're talking about restauranting and so on, we love when something new happens. We love the new shiny thing. So, like for example, Miss Scusi, which is was embedded in downtown, Little Italy, right? Myrtle Street. Now at the mall, quite a bit more accessible, right? Nice new restaurant. They're getting slammed. I mean, they are very busy because we like Italian food. We like the shiny new thing. And so they're going to be able to ride that for a while,
And we in Erie like to park very close to the entrance,
That's true.
which they have that opportunity out at the mall. I mean, that was the one thing about me Scusi's. Sometimes you had to walk a block or two to get there.
God forbid. It's neat that you're doing that. And, I love that our restaurant scene is becoming more varied. You've got a lot. We have a Vietnamese place. We have the hookah lounges and the Mediterranean food. We have the shawarma foods. I mean, we're really diverse, and that's a good thing.
And I think that surprises visitors.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're surprised when they realize the diversity of the selections that are available, and it's not just chain restaurants.
Absolutely, and of course, you want a Greek hot dog, you go over to New York Lunch, and you're in heaven there.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, 5th next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get on board.
How many hotel rooms are we up to now, John?
About 4,500.
4,500.
Yes.
And in the summer, in the peak, kind of tough to get a room, isn't it?
It can be, particularly weekends, and even into the fall. I mean, try to get a weekend in September and early October, and it's very, very difficult.
And sometimes, in the wintertime when you have one of these big events and there's, 1,500 gymnasts coming to town,
Right. But you know what? And no matter what, we'll find some place to put a visitor.
Right, exactly. Let's talk. I want to talk about careers in AI before we talk about assets and maybe some of the things that are coming on the pike here. I think we talk about AI in every conversation anymore, whether it's real estate, economic development, social services, or whatever. Are you starting to see any impact of AI on the hospitality business?
Yeah, well, Joel, I'm not actually physically sitting here.
You're a hologram.
Yeah, and it's AI that's carrying on this entire conversation that I've had with you.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
But no, AI is it's certainly starting to become talked about, and how can we properly use AI to improve how we promote Erie.
Yeah, probably. I would think even instead of having a like a call tree or something when people want to do an 800 number to find out about something, you could AI could be like an answering questions or something like that about nitty gritty. Hey, do you have anything there that has to do with Frank Lloyd Wright. Oh, of course, we're on the right trail, or
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're already, I think we all experience that in life when you call into some place and you're not talking to a real person.
No.
And that person's asking you questions and then coming back and you give them an answer and they ask you another question based on your answer. I think that, we're going to see it play more of a role in how we promote. And, but by the same token, we're very careful to make sure that if we're bringing in media or social influencers, that they're not using AI to generate their content that they're putting out, that it's their own.
Right.
So that we want to be careful because, AI still isn't perfect.
No doubt.
And we want to be.
Do we get a lot of visitors? I've been noticing more and more YouTubes of some random, tourism, I guess, influencer making a YouTube about coming to Erie or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, last year I think we hosted 14
really
influencers, and we don't, we go through a process of vetting somebody before we invite them, or if they say, hey, we'd like to come in, before we put them up and put together a whole schedule for them, we have to vet them. How many followers do they have? And what have they done in the past? Have they done other travel things that we can start to see? So, yeah, but it's definitely becoming the way of getting the word out. And we're doing that. We're posting daily, VisitErie is, on our Facebook page. I think we have 55,000 followers on Facebook. But we're also doing reels now and a number of the other things that we're making ourselves and reaching out to markets now that's where they're getting their information.
Yeah.
And we're kind of in a crossroads, Joel. When you look at people that are, the boomers,
sure,
who are a market for us, how they acquire their information and do their travel planning is a whole lot different than a millennial or a Gen X, So we have to start to look and say, print is still important. Media, electronic media is important. That's boomers tend to really be into that, or that's where they're getting their information. Yet you look at millennials.
Right.
And millennials, if they're watching anything on the television, it's streaming. So, we're not able to focus in one medium. We need to be in all mediums.
Well, and it is kind of interesting to how you become an influencer. Yeah, I would imagine that if those guys have a bunch of followers, they probably started out without getting any freebies or very little, and then they have to build their audience from there,
Exactly. And we look at their audience. I mean, we bring in a lot of influencers that are families, and they'll come in with their family.
Nice.
And spend 2-3 days doing everything that we set up that works for a family. And on the other hand, you have people that are, they're looking at seniors, looking to do wine tours or, those kind of things.
I want to talk a little bit about careers, and then I want to talk about some of the assets that are going strong, and maybe them might be on the horizon, or maybe that you wish that we had. But let's talk about careers. Do you still get a sense that many of your properties, the hospitality properties, whether it's restaurants, hotels, assorted attractions, are still looking for workers?
Yeah, it's not as bad as it has improved some.
Yeah.
But, we hear that all the time, that it's they're still finding it difficult to get workers. And, that's we're not the only industry.
Sure. I wonder what that, career trajectory. You always hear sometimes that the hotel manager started out as somebody that handled the luggage or something like that.
Well, we're one of the few, if not the only industry, where literally someone can start out as a busboy and actually end up as the general manager for the hotel or the property. Or someone can start out busing tables in a restaurant and become the general manager. There's those opportunities that exist where it's difficult. Somebody that comes in manufacturing as a maintenance person, they're probably not going to end up being the plant manager.
Right.
But that's an advantage, and there are more and more of these careers, that are in the hospitality can be family sustaining.
Mm-hmm.
And often I point out, nowadays it seems like most families they're two-income families, and so somebody who's working in the hospitality that may not be as high a paying position, what they're earning and adding to the income may lift those families above the poverty level.
Sure.
May allow them to have a little bit a better life, and those jobs exist so that you don't necessarily have to have a 4-year higher education degree, etc., to be able to earn a good living.
Well, and for someone that is, I mean, these places don't live in a vacuum. I mean, the conversations I've had with restaurant owners and hotel owners is that, they're having to raise their wages to compete with the Targets of the world and the other, the major retailers or something like that.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. I mean, the argument that we need to raise our minimum wage in Pennsylvania from $7.25, and anybody I mention that to in our industry says $7.25.
Right.
We're nowhere near that. We're paying double that now.
Correct.
For even people that are just working in the kitchen.
The market has fleshed that out.
It has forced them to increase salaries or wages. And it is difficult. I mean, they walk that fine line. I mean, the margins when you run a restaurant are very tight.
Sure.
And so, when they have to increase wages and pay to get the employees to provide the service that guests need, it's difficult then to turn around and have to be raising the price on your menus. They walk that fine line.
That's
as a
tough.
lot of industries do.
Sure. It makes me wonder if you have a show like The Bear on Hulu, if that draws people into the restaurant business because everybody gets called chef, right? Do you know the show?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a fun show. I want to talk about some of the other things that seem to be like trends out there. And assets that might be coming online. Anything like in 2025 that you're seeing on the horizon, whether it is happening or that you kind of wish were happening here in the Erie market, John?
Well, I mean, I think, we're starting to see more development down on the Bayfront. And, certainly, seeing more, looking and hoping that the Scots will continue to be able to put together what they've envisioned for their property down there, I think is something that we'd really like to see. Getting the Niagara back and sailing is certainly something we'd like to see also.
Right.
But we have the Tall Ships Festival coming in. It's coming in this year.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Third weekend in August, and that always draws extremely well.
Wow.
And
I guess I wasn't aware. I mean,
it's every 3 years.
And the Niagara will be able to participate? Is what you're
it does
thinking?
not look like for this one that the Niagara, it looks like the Niagara won't be back sailing until 26. It's a wooden ship.
It sure is.
And
yeah.
so it needs to have, it needs to be serviced, and, that's just part of what's going on, or what they have to do with the ship. But that doesn't mean that the Letty G will still be here.
Right.
And the Tall Ships bring in their own ships, so it'll be a shame not to have the Niagara leading the parade again. But I think that what they're doing now will give us a lot longer years and many more years of having the Niagara. Similar to the Bayfront Parkway.
Sure,
We're going to have to
yeah.
put up with something, but when they're done, I think it's going to be something that will certainly expedite and improve people's
So it makes me wonder, because there's still a lot of fallow land on, at our port, at our base front.
Mm-hmm.
With the completion of the highway, which is another couple more years, do you anticipate that'll go with rockets on some of the development down there? I mean, I'm just wondering, what does East Public Dock look like? Where McGall, there's some really amazing spaces right on the water.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Parkway is part of it. I think it also, it's the economy, and it's the ability for developers to have access to the funds to do what they need to build that. And I think that more and more they're starting to see that there is a base of population, and it's not just a summertime.
Right.
I think more and more they're starting to see activity that's taking place down there, year round.
With the number of rooms that are coming on in the bay, are we seeing more balance between the I-90 corridor and the bayfront, where some people prefer to be on the highway because they're coming in, and maybe they have a thing and then they go, or that's just where the number of rooms are. But there's also all these rooms on the bay, right? I mean,
right. Well, it also various markets and pricing.
That's
the
true.
properties that are down here on the bayfront are going to be higher priced rooms than you'll find out at the mall or on Upper Peach. And you're right. Part of the market that comes through here may be just overnighting on their way to New York or Chicago, etc.
Sure.
And so they're going to stay up there. I mean, even with the Scott's Hotel, we're looking at 650 rooms, and we'd have about 4,500. So, I mean, you're looking at a substantial amount of rooms that aren't down here that will be utilized.
We haven't gotten to the place where somebody's built a hotel or renovated a hotel, because we've had some reboots too, where it's kind of been a bust, where they haven't seen the numbers that they wanted.
No, I guess I'm not really aware of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of like brand new full price Holiday Inn. Haven't heard anything go south for them.
No, they seem to be doing.
Yeah,
they seem to be, from what we hear, doing well.
Yeah,
and overall, this year our occupancy for the county was about 55%.
Okay.
Which is an increase from the year before.
And is that up to industry standards? I mean, as far as profitability and so on?
Yeah, I think that, I've heard that if you can do over 50%, then, it's a viable operation.
I got just a few more minutes with John Oliver from VisitErie, and I was mentioning these influencers and things, and I watch a lot of YouTubes. I'm just going to confess, okay? So one of the series of YouTubes that are fascinating are these people that take the Amtrak, and I can't tell you how many different shows are on that line from New York to Chicago, Chicago to New York, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering what VisitErie's role would be as a lobbying force, or I think we even sat together, right, one time at one of these Amtrak presentations. We got to improve our train service to this town.
Well, don't disagree with you. I don't know that VisitErie plays a huge role,
right,
in doing that. Amtrak needs to add additional service, and that takes funding. Certainly was encouraged with the infrastructure bill and the amount of money that Amtrak was getting. It certainly looked like they might be able to add something more on that. In terms of trying to improve, what I hear all the time is you got to get the schedule changed. They can't be coming through here at 1:30 in the morning or whatever. And what I try to explain is that Amtrak sets the schedule on what is the most convenient for Chicago and New York.
Sure.
And so we're in the middle.
Yes.
We don't, but if they were to run a second train, then I think that we'd have some opportunities. So.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is on the shows that I've seen, they don't even mention that. Like, they're sleeping while they're going from basically Buffalo to Toledo. Really, they even miss Cleveland half the time. You know?
Right, and that again is the timing, where we happen to be halfway between. So
because that could be a driver, I would think that even if there were short hauls, Cleveland to Buffalo or Cleveland to Toronto, and we had the stop, that would be really great, both ways, for Erie folks to go to Cleveland, Cleveland folks come to Erie,
Right.
And same thing in Buffalo.
Well, and Amtrak does have service to Toronto.
Right.
It goes up through Buffalo, Niagara Falls, then crosses over and co-op with, I think, the Canadian National.
Right.
But so yeah, I mean there's a lot of opportunity, and I'm not sure. This is not something I think, as much as I'd like to see it, I don't think it's something that's going to happen in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I'm not. I would love to hear about high speed rail. I would more like to see just regular speed rail, of just being able to be off the interstate and leave the driving to somebody else and be there at a decent time, and efficiently be able to navigate. Right. Because I tell you what, Union Station for us, if it was arriving at a decent hour, it would be epic, because we could totally multimodal folks either to the convention center or to downtown or to shopping up on Peachtree. It would be so easy to do all that,
Yeah, well, it offers us another, avenue of potential visitors.
Sure.
That we could entice to get here.
So there's room for growth even in this hospitality business.
There will never not be room for growth in the hospitality, because when you get to a certain point, it expands.
Right. It's amazing. Yeah, one last thought is, we are seeing too that even as you go beyond the 90 corridor, you're seeing, hotel in Finley Lake, hotel in Northeast, hotels in Edinburgh. It's pretty amazing how broad we're seeing that, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely, and they're doing well.
Yeah, Corey has a hotel.
Corey has a Cobblestone.
Yes,
and if the properties are right sized, and that's the key. I don't know the rooms in Corey. It might be 30 rooms or something.
Okay, yeah.
But at this point, it's kind of right sized, and it is offering them something that they, even the residents, family coming to visit, etc. It's important that they don't have to drive 30 miles to see family.
Yeah, I would love to see the statistic of how many high school reunions or family reunions happen in this town every year. It's got to be in the hundreds. And I know when we have a reunion or a death in the family or a wedding, those hotels, they're all buying those hotels, man.
We get requests all the time for family reunions, weddings, etc. for information. Can we get your visitor guide?
Sure.
Do you have plastic bags we can hand out and put literature into? So,
wow.
Yeah, we're filling those on a regular basis.
Doing the work to make Erie more attractive to visitors. Visit Erie. John Oliver, thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing Joel@TalkErie.com.